Hey everyone, welcome back to Dolly Cooks. I'm Dolly, and on this show we cook. Apparently everything on my cooking channel comes in twos. Our first two episodes we did sort of like autumnal baked treats. Last week we did lemon pasta, and today we are going to be making pasta with sausage sauce. So another pasta. Now, this sausage sauce is one of my favorites. It is not a recipe for one like the lemon pasta was. However, if you make this sauce, you could absolutely portion it into fours or portion it in half and freeze what you're not consuming then. It freezes really well and you just thaw it and reheat it. I've done a little bit of prep, but then I was like, you know what? These people probably want to spend a little more time with me, and I'll show you some tricks with dicing and whatnot. This recipe is something I've been making for years. Vincent and I both love it, and it comes from E.G. Maccioni's, the Maccioni family cookbook. This is an Italian cookbook that came out in the early 2000s. It's written with E.G. and Peter Kaminsky, and it's really lovely. There's a lot of storytelling in it, which I appreciate, and there are recipes in the book from lasagna and pastas to soups, several desserts, a lot of braised meats, and the recipes range from simple to a little more intricate, so there's sort of something for everyone, and she's a delight to read and listen to. So this is an adaptation of her sauce. I add a little bit more tomato and sausage than she does, and I made a couple of other swaps as well, but it is E.G.'s recipe for the most part. So for this sauce, I'm actually eating lunch right now, so I'm prepping the sauce while I'm eating lunch, and I'll reheat it when I boil the pasta in a few hours later for dinner. This sauce is onions, garlic, olive oil, sausage, and then it simmers in crushed tomatoes with salt, pepper, and a little red pepper flakes. Very, very simple and easy to do. You are going to need one red onion. I've already cut this one in half and peeled it, but I am gonna go ahead and dice it. Chef's knife. And what you do is you hold it down, and we're just gonna make some slices there, but keeping the root end intact, and then I'll just pull the knife through this way. And that one will be ready to dice in a moment. Do the same thing to this other half. Again, just taking care with your hands. Make sure your knife is sharp. Sharp knives are safer than dull knives. Luckily, Vincent has just taken up a hobby of knife sharpening, so my knives are in good hands around here. All right, and we're ready to dice this. You just run your knife right through it. So satisfying, into the compost there. Again, into our compost. It's quite a lot of onion in the sauce. She specifies red onion. If you don't have red, you could use white. I have before, but I do like it with red onion. It gives a little bit of color to the sauce. You're also gonna need 2 garlic cloves. Now this is 2 garlic cloves. These are massive garlic cloves. This is really more like 4 cloves of garlic, but I like a lot of garlic. And I know that everyone has an opinion about garlic presses, mincing their own garlic. I personally, even though a garlic press is another tool, I know, I hate mincing garlic. I find it very tedious, and I love a garlic press. Now, for most garlic presses, they'll tell you don't need to peel the garlic. I just find that they work a little easier if you do. And because these cloves are so huge, I have gone ahead and peeled them and cut them in half. The smaller you chop, press, or grate your garlic, the more flavor you're gonna get. So obviously by using the garlic press, we're going to be getting a significant amount of garlic flavor here. But there's a lot of tomatoes. You're using a 28-ounce can, and again, I like garlic. It's really a personal preference how much garlic you put, but I do think starting with 2 cloves is a good idea, even though what I'm doing here is really more like 4, with as big as they are. Take the back of the knife, not the sharp end, and just lop that off. Okay, so that's the garlic. Other things that we need to prep before we get started is the sausage. Now, again, I have already done a little bit of TV magic for you. This is 1 pound of sausage. I've already processed most of it, but I did decide to save one just to show you how to remove sausage from a casing if that's something you've never done. You're going to take your knife and just gently run it along one side so that it starts to split open. And then you can just peel the casing right off, and voila, casing into the compost. And then you can just, with your hands, chef's best tool, break up the sausage. This is hot Italian sausage. If you don't like spicy, use mild. This is 1 pound of sausage. Generally speaking, 4 sausages is usually about 1 pound. Some brands may be different, but not really in my experience. This particular Italian sausage I'm using is house made at Whole Foods, and I do find that they usually go pretty heavy on the red pepper, so it's quite spicy. They also tend to season it quite well with salt, so I'm definitely gonna have to taste and adjust the sauce as I'm going, so I'll be a little cautious salting it myself because there's a lot of salt sitting in this sausage, I know from experience. You can sometimes find Italian sausage from without the casing, like it'll just come in a pack and you don't have to do that step we just did, but the links are easier to find more often than not. The reason that I love this particular tomato sauce is actually because you get so much flavor from using the sausage as opposed to just using like ground lamb or ground pork or ground beef or even a mixture of those. Because sausage is seasoned, right? It's coming with usually fennel. If it's hot, it'll have red pepper, and it's seasoned with salt, sometimes garlic and parsley and other stuff. So it's like an instant flavor enhancer to your pasta sauce as compared to just, again, like a plain ground meat. With that, we're ready to get started, and I'm gonna move you, dear watcher, to a different spot so you can see me over on the stove. My kitchen's a really awkward shape and I'm having trouble figuring out where to put y'all. Little switcheroo here. Voila! New position. My kitchen is so small and awkward. I really am struggling to figure out where to put y'all half the time, especially when I'm trying to use the stove. Last week with the lemon pasta, it felt like you all were like, I don't know, whatever. We're gonna try this. Let me know if you like it or hate it. I don't know. A couple tablespoons of olive oil in here. Let that heat for just a bit. So, the sauce. We have our pound of sausage. We have our onions and garlic that we just prepped. Some things I didn't mention before, obviously we're gonna be seasoning with salt and pepper. My sausage is, I know, quite seasoned, so I will be gentle with the salt and to do a lot of tasting to make sure I'm not making it too salty. You're gonna need some red pepper flakes. This is also personal preference. I know that my sausage has a lot of red pepper in it. You can see the sort of orangey color of it from all that pepper. I still add a little bit more. We like it spicy. And you're also gonna need a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes and a 1/4 cup of white wine, dry white wine. That should go without saying, but dry white wine. I'm actually gonna be using rosé. I tend to actually use rosé because I just find it's what I'm drinking, and you should be using a wine that you drink, and I drink a lot of rosé, so it's what I generally have more often than not. And we'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead and measure the wine. This one's called the Pale. It's pretty good. It's pretty inexpensive. It's like $15 a bottle. We're gonna need a 1/4 cup of it. Thereabout. I'll be having a glass of this later on this evening. And, you know, every time I cook with wine, I think of this really corny, like, kitchen art that you would find at, like, Home Goods or TJ Maxx that's like, I love to cook with wine. Sometimes I even put it in my food, like, ooh, she's so silly. I'm corny. Anybody who knows me in real life knows that. I have horrible jokes. All right, the oil is getting hot. We're not gonna add the garlic in just yet because garlic does not need to cook that long. We just really wanna get it fragrant. The onions do need time. You don't want to brown these onions, you just want them to sweat a little bit, so I did turn my heat down just a bit. Gonna let that go for a couple minutes, and then we're gonna add the sausage in. The onions don't need to be fully softened before we add the sausage in. I just like giving these a little bit of a start. Especially too, so that we're not overwhelming the pan too much at once with both, but you don't have to wait for these to be totally softened. I need glasses on my face, so I'm gonna go do that. I have this horrible habit of when I'm filming content to take my glasses off just because then you don't see the reflection as much, especially if I'm recording like content for Instagram. And I forget to put my glasses back on. And then like 20 minutes later, I'll be like, oh my gosh, why is everything so blurry? Why is my head starting to hurt? Girl, put on your glasses. Okay, these are already starting to soften, and with a red onion, that's always very obvious because that deep purple that you have when it's raw and you've just sliced it up starts to become very dull. So we're gonna go ahead and add in our sausage. This is a pound of hot Italian sausage. You can use mild if you don't like it spicy. And what I'm doing right now is really just breaking up the sausage a little bit further with my spoon as it kisses this pan and starts to brown a little bit. Let's talk pasta. For pasta with sausage sauce, Vincent and I are of the belief, and I think E.G. is too in her cookbook, this is served with a short pasta. You are your own person with free will and autonomy. If you want to eat this with bucatini or long pasta, go for it. I'm going to be using short pasta. I tend to do either casarecce or like a rigatoni, something short and sort of dense. Today I'm going to be using casarecce, which Vincent could tell you what that means in Italian. I cannot, and I meant to look it up before I recorded this and didn't. Oops, sorry. But they're shaped like this. They're like little short twists. They have really good bite to them, and they're really nice with this sauce in particular because, I don't know, the sausage and the pasta, I don't know, it's just a combo that I like. Can't really explain it to you. Not everything needs an explanation, you know? All right, so our sausage is actually mostly already brown, and it's going to be simmering in tomatoes for 30 minutes. So again, it does not have to be like perfectly cooked through here because it's going to be simmering in tomatoes for quite a bit. This is a sauce, like most sauces, especially tomato sauces, that is better the next day or even just a few hours later, which is why, if you can, make this during lunch, let it hang out, all those flavors melt together, and then reheat it for dinner. It's great. Or even make it the night before and then reheat it the following day. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we are going to add our garlic now. Give that a little swirl in. It just needs a couple minutes to hang out with everything. It smells so good in here. I wish you could smell. You've got strong garlic. You've got beautiful, like, unctuous porky notes coming out of this thing. We are going to go ahead and add a pinch of red pepper flakes. Sausage is already spicy. I added like maybe 1/4 teaspoon here. This is also going to be the time that we are going to throw a pinch of salt. I will taste this and add more later if needed, because I know that this sausage in particular is salty. And you're gonna add quite a bit of black pepper. I am of the opinion that fresh ground black pepper is the only black pepper that is acceptable in food. This particular pepper mill is from Hexclad, and I don't think that a better one out there exists. It is so efficient. It grinds peppercorns so quickly. And this little bottom, you can actually grind into it and then measure from it. Love. All right, so we've got our seasonings in: garlic, red pepper flakes, salt and pepper. We will be tasting this once the tomatoes get in there. And the only other step before we get the tomatoes in is we're going to hit it with the 1/4 cup of dry white wine, or in this case, rosé. And we want to let the wine boil, come to the bubble, and cook down just a bit before we add those tomatoes in. Wine in this sauce is really just doing the work of adding like an additional layer of flavor in. It's sort of just like is acid, right? Has flavor. It's also going to, if you have, for example, over browned your onions and you've got a little bit of stickiness happening, it's going to deglaze the pan for you and pull that up. Hopefully that doesn't happen when you're making it, but if you do overcook your sausage or onions a little bit and they did start to brown, it's going to get in there and save you. Smells even better with the wine. All right, it is bubbling and boiling. You can see that steam coming up. I'm gonna let it sit for just a second here. I'm gonna have a sip of water. Stay hydrated. Okay, so at this point, there is still wine in here, but it is rapidly boiling and it doesn't have that like alcohol scent to it anymore. It has a little bit more mellow of a smell. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw our tomatoes in, and then guess what? It's gonna boil and simmer for half an hour, and that's it. So 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes, incorporated into the oil and the fat and whatever's left of the wine. I love making sauce because it just makes your house smell good. It's like hearty and filling. Love. Teensy bit of water in here to rinse it out, and then we're gonna let it simmer for half an hour. And as it simmers, that little bit of extra water we added is gonna get evaporated, so no big deal. All right, it's pretty much stirred in. So I'm gonna grab a spoon, give it a little taste. I'm going to add a cautious pinch more salt. Just very, very little, because it's going to thicken and will, in thickening, become a little bit saltier, but it is tasting right now like it needed just a little bit more. It's already simmering. We've got some little pockets of bubbles coming up. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit to keep it at this simmer, and it's gonna cook for 30 minutes. Then I will turn it off, put a lid on it, and it'll sit here until dinner time when I reheat it while I boil my pasta. See you back tonight. Hey, good evening. So the sauce simmered for 30 minutes. I'm reheating it. I moved it to the second biggest burner. It's reheating there, using my biggest burner to bring a pot of water to the boil. It is boiling. I'm gonna add some salt in just a moment. With our sauce, it is just barely simmering. You can see how thick it got during that time. It's perfect. And it's just gonna stay warm for us. For the pasta, ooh, facial. Lots of salt. Bring it to the boil before you salt it. And then always look at the package directions for how much time it says. This one says 11 minutes. Generally, I cook it a minute or two under because I transfer it to the sauce and finish it in the sauce. More on that later. use my spider here. Give everything a stir. Alexa, set a 9-minute timer.
9 minutes, starting now.
And that's about 2 minutes underdone. So while this boils, I'm going to talk about what we're eating with this. So for me, when I'm eating a meaty, rich, and I'm going to put some cheese on top of mine, Vincent doesn't take cheese on top of his pasta. But for me, when we're eating something like meaty, tomatoey, heavy carbs, I just want a salad. I want something to add balance, like crisp, crunchy, soft, mushy, but also like cheesy, heavy, bright, acidic. And when I do a really simple salad, for me, if it's going with dinner and it's not the main thing, it's literally just lettuce. I'm, again, really into like sharp flavors, so I always put shallot just with my plain green salad. So this is 1 shallot, a clamshell of greens, a sprinkle salt and pepper on it, and then I just drizzle it with olive oil and red wine vinegar. So that's our side. This is like, when you see me eating chicken cutlets, this is usually the salad we're having, or anytime you see like a little green salad on my plate, it's usually just green shallot, salt, pepper, vinegar and oil. I don't even bother making a vinaigrette. Okay, so the pasta has been cooking for 9 minutes. It is al dente, it is ready, and our sauce is warm over here. I just gave it one final taste to make sure the seasoning was right. It did need more salt, so we're good. I'm just gonna use my spider. This is why I like the spider, because then you don't have to deal with a colander, and we want a little bit of pasta water to get in there anyway. And I'll just carry it over to the sauce. Now, Olive Garden, Prego, and Ragu have sold you a lie if you think that you should put plain pasta in a bowl and then scoop sauce on top of it. This is for my white people in the South and the Midwest, maybe even some of you West Coasters. You should be tossing your pasta in the sauce. And before you throw your pasta water out, you want to just keep it or reserve a cup of it just in case you need to thin the sauce. And if you're going to have leftovers of this, save some water for that too, so you can thin it out a little bit, because it does tend to get thick once the pasta and sauce are combined, and you want to give a little extra love to your leftover. So the reason I use a big brazier for this sauce, or like a big skillet with a lip or a rim or whatever you call it, is because it will then hold the pasta when you add it. So right now you can see I'm stirring it in. It's looking good. We cooked it a couple minutes under, so that's fine because it's finishing cooking as it gets stirred in and incorporated into the sauce. This sauce makes just the right amount for a pound of pasta. It's looking really good and perfect. At this point, I actually don't think right now it needs any more pasta water, but I'll probably still add some to our leftovers. For Vincent and I, this will feed us dinner tonight, and it'll give us a couple of lunches for the week. All right, so it's dinner time. We're ready to plate. I always serve pasta in a shallow bowl. The thing about pasta is you have to eat it immediately while it's hot. So get the drinks on the table before you serve, your water, your wine, whatever you're having. And we're good. Let's go eat. All right, it's dinner time. Like I mentioned, Vincent doesn't like cheese with his pasta, but I do, so I'm putting a little pecorino on mine. I tend to prefer pecorino romano on pasta over Parmesan just because it's a little saltier and zippier. Sheepier. This is the first time Vincent's been in a video. He's a little annoyed with me because he had to put pants on. He normally, when he Pooh Bears it at home, well, not quite, he does wear underwear, but
yeah. Is that what I'm supposed to say? It's
you can
good.
Say whatever you want.
I mean, I like it. It's so easy. Like, it's red onion. I think I like red onion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I like a cooked red onion. And sausage is spicy, but that's good. I like spicy.
And like I mentioned earlier, the sausage that we use from Whole Foods is always very pepper forward, which we happen to like, and it is very salty. So I didn't actually add a lot of salt to this sauce as well. But yeah, super easy. One of our go-tos.
And I love salad with red sauce.
Yes, Vincent is a big fan of vinegary green salad with anything tomato meat based, so we're gonna eat. Bye!